All right, ready to dive into something a little different today.
Always up for a challenge. Where are we headed?
We're going Dutch.
Ah, the land of windmills and cheese.
Well, we'll definitely get to the cheese later. But first, we're tackling those core values, the cultural DNA that makes the Netherlands pick.
Sounds intriguing. Where do we even begin to uncover that?
We've got this intriguing booklet from the Dutch Ministry for Social Services and Employment. Published back in 2014, it dives right into the heart of Dutch society.
Okay, so no tourist brochure platitudes, I hope. Give me the good stuff.
You got it. Get ready for some surprises as we uncover the values that shape this nation: freedom, equality, and solidarity.
Those are some pretty big concepts. How do they translate into actual, daily life in the Netherlands?
That's exactly what we're here to find out. And this booklet doesn't just throw these terms around lightly, it gets specific, and that's what makes it so fascinating.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity. Let's start with freedom. What does that look like in the land of bicycles and stroopwafels?
You know, it's funny. I recently came across this Dutch saying, "Doe maar normaal, dan doe je al gek genoeg." It roughly translates to act normal. That's crazy enough.
Seems a bit paradoxical, don't you think?
I can see where you're going with this. It
Yeah.
does make you wonder how that ties into their idea of freedom.
Exactly. It's like they embrace individuality even when it challenges the norm. But how does that actually manifest? What insights did you find in the booklet?
Well, one thing that immediately struck me was their approach to freedom of expression.
Oh, so we're not talking about quiet contemplation in those charming canal houses. Not quite. The booklet actually emphasizes how direct the Dutch can be, especially when it comes to criticizing authority.
Whoa, really? They just say what's on their mind, even if it ruffles some feathers.
They see it as a vital part of a healthy democracy, open debate, even when it gets a little uncomfortable. And this isn't just a recent phenomenon.
So it's deeply ingrained in their history.
Absolutely. Centuries of fighting for independence, reclaiming land from the sea. It's instilled a certain tenacity, a deep-seated belief in individual autonomy.
So how does this love of freedom actually manifest in their laws and social norms?
One of the most striking things is their approach to, well, things like satirical cartoons.
Okay, tell me more. What about cartoons?
The booklet mentions how these cartoons often push boundaries, sometimes even causing offense. But this is generally seen as protected under their commitment to free speech. It's pretty interesting.
So it's not just about having an opinion. It's about feeling empowered to express it, even if it ruffles a few feathers.
Exactly. For the Dutch, open dialogue, even when it's provocative, is a cornerstone of their version of freedom.
It's like their version of free speech is, go ahead, say what you really think, but be ready for a lively debate afterward.
Exactly. And this openness extends beyond just expressing your opinions.
Oh, tell me more. What other aspects of Dutch freedom did this booklet highlight?
Well, it dives into their concept of freedom of association.
Okay, you've got my attention.
Yeah.
I'm picturing, like, cheese-tasting clubs and the like.
Laughing. Well, I'm sure those exist too. But we're talking about something much deeper here. It's about the power of collective action and how deeply ingrained associations are in their society.
So it's not just about joining a group for fun. It's about actively shaping your community.
Precisely. The booklet talks about how these associations, from neighborhood groups to professional organizations, are seen as vital for citizens to voice their concerns.
It's like their history of banding together, literally reclaiming land from the sea, has translated into this modern-day emphasis on collective action.
Exactly. And it ties back to that concept of Volksgeist, the spirit of a nation. The Dutch have a history of challenging authority, shaping their own destiny.
Which probably makes their approach to, say, demonstrations pretty interesting. It's not just a right. It's practically woven into their cultural fabric.
Absolutely. The booklet really emphasizes this right to peaceful assembly, to protest.
It's like that famous saying, "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it." Except in the Netherlands, they might invite you for a cup of coffee afterward to debate it further.
You've hit the nail on the head. The Dutch truly value that lively exchange of ideas, even if it means some disagreement.
This whole freedom of association thing is really making me think it's more than just signing up for a club. It's about actively participating in shaping your community, your country.
Exactly. And this active participation isn't limited to formal associations. It extends to their views on work, social responsibility. Which brings us nicely to our next pillar, equality.
Okay, let's talk about leveling the playing field, Dutch style. Now, no society achieves perfect equality, but the Dutch seem to be aiming for something pretty special.
What struck me was how they view equality. It's not just about legal rights. It's about ensuring equal access and opportunity in everyday life.
And the booklet actually gives some concrete examples of this, right?
Yes. It goes beyond just, talking about gender or sexual orientation. It's about ensuring equal treatment, regardless of age or disability, for instance.
Right. The booklet even talks about companies adapting workplaces for disabled individuals.
Yeah.
That's pretty remarkable.
It speaks to this deeply ingrained belief in inclusivity and social responsibility. They don't just talk about diversity, they actively create systems and structures that support it.
That's a great point. It's one thing to say you value equality. It's another to back it up with real action.
Absolutely. And this commitment to action is evident in other areas as well. The booklet mentions the ban on discrimination, for example, and the crucial role of anti-discrimination bureaus.
Those sound like more than just symbolic gestures. How do they actually function in Dutch society?
They provide legal advice, support to victims of discrimination, but they also go beyond just addressing individual cases. They work to raise awareness, advocate for systemic change.
That's really interesting. It's like they're acknowledging that discrimination exists everywhere, but they're choosing to actively fight against it.
And this ties into their history of polder model, their tradition of consensus building. They apply this approach to social issues as well, believing that working together is crucial for creating a more just and equitable society.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Freedom of expression, freedom of association, actively combating discrimination. It seems like the Dutch really emphasize individual responsibility and participation in shaping a better society.
You've hit the nail on the head. And this emphasis on individual responsibility within a collective framework is a key characteristic of Dutch culture. It's a fascinating paradox, and it's something that sets them apart.
This reminds me of that story in the booklet, the one about someone working 6 days a week for only 100 euros.
Yeah, it really highlights those challenges in achieving true economic equality.
Definitely. But it also points to their commitment to a minimum wage, right? And to workers' rights as a key part of their whole, social contract.
Absolutely. It all ties back to that idea of solidarity we've been talking about.
Right. It's more than just a word in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
It's about shared responsibility, a sense that we're all in this together.
The booklet frames it less as a handout, more as a collective investment in their well-being.
Which makes me think about their approach to taxes and Social Security. It's different from what we often see, right?
For sure. The Dutch view it less as a burden and more as a way to support one another, to ensure everyone has those opportunities.
It's like they're saying, we're all in this together, so let's make sure everyone has a real shot. But it goes beyond just government programs, right? What about the role of volunteering in all this?
Volunteering is everywhere in Dutch culture. It's deeply ingrained, whether it's coaching a local sports team or mentoring youth or helping out at, say, a nursing home. Giving back is just part of being Dutch.
It's expected, not just encouraged. So we've gone from exploring freedom and equality to understanding solidarity, the glue that holds it all together. If you had to sum up the Dutch approach to society in just one word, what would it be?
Samenleving.
Samenleving.
It's their word for society. It literally translates to living together.
I like that, samenleving. It speaks to that sense of interconnectedness, of understanding that we're stronger together, which makes you think, how do these values, so rooted in community and shared responsibility, fare in a world increasingly focused on, individualism and globalization? Something to ponder. That's the beauty of the deep dive, right? Uncovering these fascinating insights and ending up with even more questions. There you have it, a peek behind the curtain of Dutch culture. It's about more than just windmills and tulips. It's about a commitment to freedom, equality, and solidarity that shapes their laws, their institutions, their everyday lives. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the heart of Dutch values. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.